Hey everybody, my name is Tate Emmons, and we're excited to partner with Singing News TV to bring you a brand new series called Legends. It's 10 episodes and 10 legends. We'll have an inside look on some of the living legends of Southern gospel music. You'll hear their stories directly from them, and we might even sing a song together. So subscribe to Singing News TV and check out Legends today. Hey everybody, my name is Tate Emmons, and welcome to Singing News TV, where today we'll be spending time with one of the living legends of Southern gospel music. Their stories are fascinating, their songs never get old, and their contributions have been priceless. Today we're spending time with a man who needs no introduction from me. The industry saw him as ahead of his time, and the fans saw him as a crowd favorite, but God saw him as his anointed. Southern gospel fans have never loved anybody any more than they do this man. I believe history will mark him and his family as one of the best Southern gospel has ever had. He's the man I call when I need somebody to answer. He's the man I can always count on. He's a legend of legends, and he's my hero. It's Brother Ronny Hinson. Hey everybody, my name is Tate Emmons, and welcome to this episode of Legends. And today we have Brother Ronny Hinson with us. It is good to be with you today, Brother Ronny.
It is good to be with you, Tate, and I have a little saying, and I tell my wife, Lisa, can't wait to see Tate, and every chance we get, and it's an honor to be with you, and this is the future of Southern gospel music, of Christian music.
Well, thank you, Brother Ronny. I appreciate it. But we're going to spend some time on you. And I want to go back first to the Hensons. Now, how did one of the greatest groups of Southern gospel history start out in California?
Well, my mother and my father were Southern people, and my dad was from Tennessee. My mother was from Arkansas, and my dad was an orphan and had in his care two of his several siblings after he found his dad murdered in the riverbed here in Tennessee. So he wandered around till he got to Arkansas and met my mother, and they fell in love, and they moved together to Oklahoma. From Oklahoma, they heard that there was a lot of work to do in California for migrant workers, for workers that picked seasonal fruits and cotton and lettuce and vegetables, and so they moved out there, like so did so many others, to California, and there they raised their family and had 8 kids, 5 boys and 3 girls, I believe that was right, and I was one of those 5 boys, and I spent 24 years in California.
Who came up with the idea to start a group? Was it a conjoined effort, or was it one sibling to another saying?
I was the founder of the group, and the rest of the siblings were real young. I don't know, I'm tossed, Tate, between saying it's a privilege and a you know, to raise those kids on the road on an old bus. But basically I was like their daddy image, their father image. And so for a long, long time, until they got old enough to help me out there, I ended up having to be kind of responsible for everything,
So was it the younger siblings that were in the group?
Yes.
Because it was the younger siblings.
Yeah, it was my sister Yvonne, just under me, in the whole family siblings scheme. Then Kenny was under her in age, and then my baby brother Larry. And then just over me was my older brother, Harold, who drove the bus for the Hensons for years.
So I guess you guys started singing locally, right? Or did you travel to other states?
Well, they said we were always local.
So did California like Southern gospel music? Did they accept it?
It was not the most popular overall. More of a contemporary was in at that time. So I always put it this way: in order to get to the heart of gospel music, Southern gospel music, which was what we chose to sing, we had to get back here to the Bible Belt. And we were always felt like we were selling a boat where there wasn't any water, out in California. But it was coming, and we were a big part of helping to introduce the Southern gospel.
So how long did y'all sing in California before y'all came down to the South where Southern gospel is more accepted, I guess?
Yeah, we started in 1967.
Mhm.
I dug some wood out. We were poor people, and the poor people even called us poor. And so I dug wood up out of the dirt, and that was old fence slats, and washed them off, washed the mud off, and the sow bugs and the pincher bugs, and washed it off of the wood and let it dry in the sun for several days, and made some speaker columns,
Mm-hmm.
and put some cheap Oxford speakers in those columns, and wired them onto the back of a home stereo unit amplifier, and 2 tape recorder microphones, and that was our first PA in 1967.
Wow.
In 1971, we arrived in Madisonville, Kentucky, in the middle of a snowstorm in March, and moved in across the street from the Happy Goodmans, from Rusty.
Mm-hmm.
And our first move from California, because we knew we had to go to the Bible Belt, was in 71. And then we lived in Madisonville, Kentucky, until we moved in 75 or 76 to Nashville. And that's where we've made our home, in the Nashville area ever since.
So we were talking about earlier, the Hensons really launched in 71 when y'all moved. And the Henson fan base is a die-hard fan base, and people went crazy over the Hensons.
Yeah, we sung our heart out and couldn't kill them. They were die-hard.
Well, did you feel that connection on stage with everybody that would come and listen? Did you feel that connection?
Well, I can't say to everybody that would come and listen, because you've always, so many times you had your, when you would sing back in the 80s and 90s, especially, maybe it's the same way now, but so many times you had a package concert where you had several different groups. Well, those several different groups they were diehard fans of a particular group they came to see, so not necessarily would you be able to word it that everybody that listened to you was a diehard fan of yours, because
Right.
sometimes they wished you'd get off the stage so their group could sing,
Right.
So I don't know how to answer that, to the point that I do know that our fans that love the Hensons and love the less of a performance, more of a spiritual direction toward it, were diehard. They love the Hensons.
Yes, sir. Now, over the years, it was always a family group. It was always within the family until, I can't tell you the exact date, but eventually Chris Hawkins, which is Chris Freeman, which we talked about her earlier in the Legend series, which we interviewed her. But Chris Hawkins joined the group. Did that have a big impact for the Hensons?
Well, I tell you what the impact was. We had never sung without our sister Yvonne singing with us, and so my sister she had married, and they found out they were going to have a baby, and then she found out that she was having some real health issues. The baby was having health issues, surviving the pregnancy, and she was too. And the doctor informed her that she couldn't travel anymore and be able to, have a full pregnancy. Scared her. And so she told us on a Monday when we got in from a weekend road tour that she couldn't go anymore. Well, we were scheduled to leave out on a Thursday. And I don't know if Chris even knows this or not, but there was, and I've heard her tell the story, but I think that she doesn't know that there was nobody else lined up to try out for the group at all. She was the one. And so when I made the call to her dad trying to locate Chris, I had no idea that she was at home at the time. I knew she was out singing somewhere with somebody, but she was at home at the time in California with her family and contemplating retiring from the group that she was with when I called. And God just put that connection together with us. And I asked her if she would be interested in trying out for the Hensons. In fact, I don't think I even mentioned trying out, just would she be interested in being a part of the Hensons. And she said it's been a lifetime dream to sing with the Hensons. We picked her up in Memphis, Tennessee, flew her to Memphis. And that evening, she was on the stage singing with us. Chris is still like a sister to me, and I love her very much and admire her very much because she's a trooper.
Well, talking about specific members of the group, I want to take a second and I want to talk about Kenny and the impact he had on the group. But this is what I want to know. I believe that Southern Gospel history will mark Kenny as the greatest of all time. I believe that he is the greatest. Did you know when you were singing with him that he was probably the greatest of all time?
I had to listen to him, Tate, when he was a kid, and I despised his singing. I had to cram pillowcases underneath the door to keep from hearing him in the middle of the night singing. So little did I know that God was developing him to be what he became. And yeah, I stood beside him night after night and knew something about Kenny that most people didn't know, that made me feel like he was my hero. I admired him a lot more than people who just heard him with their ears. The reason being is, I remember when he was a little boy, he battled with bronchitis, congestion in his lungs, and I would remember my Christian praying mother would hold him up in her hands, in her arms toward the Lord, and she'd say, "Jesus, take care of my baby." And she'd say, "Devil, you're not going to take my baby away. You're not going to get my baby. I've dedicated my baby to the Lord." And I remember because he was so sick, and Kenny grew up so allergic to everything that was his. He was just, he'd be out in the weather a little bit, or the climate would be a little bit more rainy than the day before, and he would be sick. Just about every night that Kenny went on stage, before he went on stage to wow those people, to please the Lord, just about every night, I would go back in the darkness of the stage at some big auditorium, and I'd look him up and I'd find him sitting on a drum case in the dark with his guitar, and he didn't have electric plugged into it, but you could hear the fret noise when he was playing his electric guitar without an amplifier. I would say, "Kenny, how you doing? Are you doing okay?" "I'm doing all right, and we'll be able to make it." And I knew that he was, had laryngitis. Just about a big percentage of the nights, had something wrong with his voice. And I would walk out on stage and I'd be nervous about the fact that, in those big paid concerts, they didn't expect you to spend the night preaching. They wanted you to sing because they'd paid $25 or $15 to hear you sing. So in those big concerts, they didn't want a lot of talking, they wanted a lot of singing. And so I would think, well, to get us through this set, I'm going to have to get out there and make some promoters mad at me and talk a lot to fill in for Kenny. And every night that I would go out there, I would just end up leaning across the piano in awe, watching him from the curtain wing to the microphone, a transformation take place in his voice. And he would sing like he'd never had a problem in his life. And I was in awe. And my mother used to say, when I would, as a kid growing up, when I would get just awestruck by something, just fascinated by it, I'd just start drooling out the side of my mouth. I many a night leaned across the piano looking at Kenny singing and just drooled, saying, how in the world did he do that? He had a natural ability to, if he had a chest cold, he could throw it into his head and tone those head tones to where they sounded like they were coming from the diaphragm. And vice versa, he had, the opposite. He could put it from that, sing it from down here. And now I'm not like that. If I get a cold, I'm out of it, But how he did it was his own natural ability to do that. That I think he learned how to do it growing up, having all those issues. And then, of course, there was a special anointing on him. And when you're called to do it, God has sanctioned you to do that. He said he never put nothing on you that you couldn't bear. And so I'm still today his #1 fan because of knowing how he got to that microphone, not just what came out over that microphone when people heard it. And they would say, man, he just makes it look effortless. They didn't have any idea how opposite of that it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about this? I think we're going to take a halfway break right here. Folks, you don't want to miss the second half of this interview. It's going to be great. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back with this episode of Legends.
Turning Point Ministries presents the National Quartet Convention, returning to a premier vacation destination, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and returning to a center stage. Headlining the main stage are Greater Vision, The Hoppers, Mark Trammell Quartet, Jim and Melissa Brady, Triumphant, Ernie Haas and Signature Sound, Collingsworth Family, the Gaither Vocal Band, Tribute, and many others, plus gospel music's largest marketplace. Many spectacular daytime showcases, including the Gaither Homecoming Sing-Along, the Singing News Fan Awards, the SGMA Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and keynote speakers like Dr. Robert Jeffress and Dr. David Jeremiah. Reserve your seats today. Visit nqconline.com or call 800-846-8499.
The Southern Gospel Promoters Association, supporting the very best in Southern gospel music, organized to help, encourage, and provide information to Southern gospel promoters and work as a unified body to make a greater success of the concert arena. Follow us on Facebook at Southern Gospel Promoters Association. And for everything we have going on, follow us on the web at sgpromoters.com. sgpromoters.com. Come be a part of this great music with us. Dreaming of an unforgettable getaway filled with music, faith, and breathtaking ocean views? Join Tate Emmons aboard the Harmony at Sea 2026 cruise. Setting sail February 23rd through the 28th on the Carnival Freedom. We're heading to Celebration Key, Nassau, and the stunning Half Moon Cay. A trip that's part paradise, part praise, and all unforgettable. Alongside Tate Emmons, enjoy the Browders, the Allens, Right Road Quartet, Danny Funderburg, Heart to Heart, the Seiler Family, and more. Be sure to register with Tate Emmons so you can be part of his special onboard events and exclusive experiences. Expect live concerts, powerful worship, artist meet and greets, and plenty of fun at sea. Whether you're soaking up the sun or singing under the stars, this is a trip you don't want to miss. Cabins are limited, so book now. Visit www.praise.events or call 865-278-3681 and sign up with Tate Emmons to set sail for a week of music, inspiration, and adventure. Harmony at Sea 2026, where faith, music, and fun come together.
Hey everybody, my name is Tate Emmons and welcome back to Legends. And today we have Brother Ronny Hinson. Now, in 1988, Brother Kenny felt the call to go into the different ministry, go in evangelism. So the group kind of parted ways, but you went solo.
Kinda.
Kinda. So you went solo, and your first solo project was in 1990. What made you go solo?
What made me go solo is the very reason that we've got to always realize that when we stand before the Lord and give account for what we've done or haven't done, we don't stand there as a group. I don't go to heaven as a group. You know, I don't. Yeah, I'm an individual, and each one of us have an individual call from the Lord. I knew what my call was. My call was to minister like I had been going, because somebody else has called changed, or they decided that was what didn't mean that mine had changed. I still have the burden, or I never had the burden at all, you know. And so my burden was to do what I have continued to do, and sing and write in the Southern Gospel genre, and made the right decisions. I felt very, very comfortable in the fact that, it was nerve-wracking, because I'd always had the support and was the support of them when the group was together. There's something about the power of the camaraderie and the strength of one another standing beside each other. If I mess up, this other guy knows how to pick up the pieces and support me and roll on. And when you're out there doing solo, you're by yourself. Whatever good happens, you get the credit for it. I'm not talking about it as spiritual, but performance. You get the credit for it. If it's bad, you get the blame for it. And so that's a frightening thing. But superseding all of that was that I was called of God as an individual to minister. And if it's just a show, then you can just hang it up and go do what you want to do anytime you want to do. But when you're called of God to do it, you do it till He says stop.
Right.
So that's what prompted me to go on.
So you're known as a soloist, and you've been known for your time with the Hensons, but I think you're most known for your very, very accomplished songwriting. You're an accomplished, very talented songwriter, obviously. And I want to go through and talk about some of the songs that you've written and some of the backstories, if you're willing to do that with me, if that's okay.
I'll try to have a little bit to say about it. I don't know exactly what songs you're going to ask me about, but
I want to talk about this song because it's special to me, because I recorded this song on my first album, Means Something to Me. But I want you to talk about Original Superman.
What a good song Means Something to Me was.
Well, thank you so much.
And is.
But see, Original Superman was a controversial song, and I love hearing the story about that, if you're willing to tell it to us.
Well, before we do that, here's the intro.
Yeah, yes, sir.
The Original Superman almost got me put off the road. No,
Really?
it was controversial due to the fact that Southern gospel music was growing, was stretching, and some people didn't know how to let that happen, and they were afraid of that. I'm a person who, I love the hymns. I love the old songs, like Give the World a Smile Each Day. But we would talk about reaching young people and adding youth to the Southern gospel genre, and at the same time we wouldn't hear of anything other than traditional. And especially coming up with a bunch of young people younger than me, I knew it was a great barometer as to what young people really wanted. And now today the lid's completely off the jar, and the Original Superman, it was the lyrics that were controversial to the point that people wouldn't sit and listen to those lyrics because the rhythm of the song and the melody, the tune of the song caught them before they would sit and listen to the lyrics. The lyrics of that song were absolutely supportive of the fact that Jesus, there was no thought of anybody doing anything supernatural. No thought about that has ever come from any direction other than the fact that Jesus was that supernatural person. He was flesh 100%. He was God 100%. So God interjected into man. Man interjected into God, made him that original Superman. I was just given a very popular superhero that everybody grew up watching and listening. I was given the credit to all the things that he was able to, whoever wrote that story about the original, or about Superman, Clark Kent, and whoever wrote that, could not have had those ideas had not it been for Jesus could do the impossible. And so I just put it in down-to-earth terms, and I can't leap tall buildings, can't stop a speeding train.
I can't take a bullet, still couldn't take the pain.
And it's not the place of a Christian to take matters in his own hands. I just turn it over, report it to the original Superman, and used the phone booth thing and all of that, you know, and so it's something that I can understand that people were not used to, but of all the all-time radio airplay money-making songs, for me, it was the number 6 of all the songs I've written.
Because of the controversy.
Because of the controversy, yeah.
So I guess the controversy was worth it.
And we were putting, in the meantime, we were putting 300 and 400 more people, and many of them were young people, in the seats of the auditoriums that weren't coming before. And I would like to think that it had a lot to do with the stronger influx of young people to Southern gospel music, the introduction of Southern gospel, because they would come to our concerts and hear us sing the original Superman, and they'd get to hear I Never Shall Forget the Day, old Pop Spears song that we sung, you know. So it helped, you know, mesh that together.
Yes, sir. Well, I want to talk about one last song, because people would be complaining if we didn't talk about the song, The Lighthouse. There's a wonderful story about the Lighthouse that you've told me several times, but I want to share that story with everybody else that's watching on how you wrote The Lighthouse.
As I told you earlier, even the poor people called us poor. And I remember living in these tract houses. My dad was just starting out in the ministry, and he had come from God had transformed his life, saved him. He'd come from being an alcoholic and just a real abusive person. He had a hard life because he found his dad murdered in the riverbed. And then his mother was taken off to a TB sanitarium with TB. All of his siblings were put into an orphanage. He was very bitter, very mad, very at life and people. And anyway, make a long story short, he was trying to, he'd gotten saved and trying to be a decent person and felt like he was called to preach. We were trying to get our feet on the ground, he said, financially. But the people that lived next door to us were even poorer than us. That was poor. And so this kid was my best buddy. And he kept telling me about his brother, older brother that was in the Army, that was coming home from the Army. And we lived about 20 miles from the Pacific Ocean. But the Pacific Ocean has what they call a marine layer. Low fog comes in, settles in. You can be 20 miles inland, beautiful sunshiny day. You can go out to the beach, and here comes that marine layer, and pretty soon you're just soaked. It's foggy, it's depressing, you know. There was a lot of that marine layer in the beach, in the ocean, that we knew as our ocean. He says, my brother coming home from the Army, wait till you see him. When he came home, he was in his uniform when he came, and I first laid eyes on him. And man, the first thing I wanted to be, and the only thing I wanted to be, was a soldier. after I saw him. He became my hero. And of course, they didn't know the Lord. They were heavy drinkers and party people. And for days, there was this big high grass field, and about a city block wide. And I would get me a stick broom and my dad's construction helmet and one of those pie pans that has the little thing that goes around it that you break the crust loose on the bottom of this. You wouldn't know anything about this, Tate. Anyway, that would be my Jeep, and then I'd put that down and I'd march with that broomstick and my dad's helmet on, and I was a soldier, man. Well, they went to the beach and they got to partying, and he was snorkeling and he was drunk, and the Army boy. And he came home, they brought him home in a station wagon, and you could see his silhouette laying across the seats on some kind of a slab where he had drowned. They didn't have the money and didn't know what to do with his body, and they were trying to figure out how to bury him. And I remember seeing that silhouette of my hero and saying, what a way to spend the day, go to the beach, the ocean, and that'll do you in. That'll take care of you. So I blamed the ocean. And I hated the ocean. My daddy one time took all of us, when he was pastoring, took us all to the ocean. And of course my dad was a strict preacher. You didn't mix bathe. The women would have to swim way down here and the men way down here. And I didn't want to be around the ocean. So I'd just go out in the middle of the ocean, on the sand beach, and they would be down here and the others down here, and I'd holler, shark, and the party would be over, and I'd get to go home. So that's the setup story to why I never liked the ocean. And I say that to say this, that years later, we're singing now, and we're in a big church practicing for a concert that's coming up in 2 weeks. We were trying to find something in the hymn books that we could change into our style. And nothing was working, and the kids were getting sleepy. They were all younger than me. And so I thought, 2 o'clock in the morning, we better come up with something. So I said, I'm going down to the basement of the church and I'll write us a song. And everybody laughed at me because they heard the 2 attempts of songs before that, and you don't want to hear them. But so I went down in the basement, in the stall next to the wall in the bathroom, on a piece of toilet paper. And it just seemed like the Lord was singing the words to this song to me. And I wrote The Lighthouse in 7 minutes on a piece of toilet paper and had never laid eyes on a lighthouse. And I said that, the setup story about the soldier, because that's why, though I lived near the ocean, you wouldn't have got me to go out there. I wasn't interested in anything that had to do with the water. It's ironic that all my biggest songs, just about all of them, were about the ocean. Now, it's how God will heal your phobias and everything else. So I came back up to sing it to them, and I looked at the paper, and the ink had faded in the toilet paper, and I said, oh man, I can't remember how am I going to tell them this is even a song? I can't even read it. So somebody took it and wadded it up, said, let's go back to the hymn book. And so I sat there for a little bit and thought, the words got to come back to me because I know this was a God thing. So when the words started coming back to me, I got that toilet paper back out and started reading the words. And of course, Kenny being our lead singer, I said, Kenny, you take the lead of this. And he started singing, and it was like a big old empty cathedral, but it was like when we sang it, we hit the harmonies. I thank God for life. It was like every seat in the house was full. The presence of the Lord was in that room. It was just God was saying, this is what I've been waiting on. This is what you need, and this is the fulfillment of my promise to you. That's how the Lighthouse came about. And of course, being in the same church denomination as the Happy Goodmans. Our first trip out of California in an old 1948 Greyhound bus took us to Prescott, Arizona, where we were singing in a big youth rally with the Happy Goodmans and the Hensons. And that's where we sang the Lighthouse the first time, and that's where the Happy Goodmans heard it. They wanted to record it. We said not until we record it. And so we went back to their studios in Madisonville, Kentucky, and we recorded it. Of course, we were not well known, out in the Bible Belt, and they were. So the minute they did their version of it, it went to the top and stayed there for a long, 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 long time.
Well, you're still a wonderful songwriter. And just last year, you had the Song of the Year with
Song of the
Come to the
Year.
Well.
Song of the Year. That was a shocker to me. But,
Yes, sir.
I thank God for the inspirations, and I think I just got a cut at the time that we were doing this interview. I got a cut on the Kingsman, got a cut on Gold City. Man, I'm hopping. I'm telling you, I'm still out there.
Look, you're still going.
I said, I don't know if I'm hitting anything over the fence, but I'm getting up to bat.
Yes,
So,
sir.
and I'm still singing, still
Yes, sir.
traveling, singing.
That's right. Yes, sir. Brother Ronny, we appreciate you. We appreciate what you've done for Southern gospel music, what you've done for the songs of Southern gospel music. I appreciate you. You've been a great friend to us. You're like family, and we love you.
Thank
we
you,
honor
Tate.
you.
Thank you, Tate.
Well, how about this? Before we go, I think we ought to sing The Lighthouse together. Is that okay with you? We can find a key or something.
Put in a key of R, Tate. That's where I sing.
Okay?
Okay?
All right.
Let's do it.
Well, Brother Ronny, let's sing a little bit of The Lighthouse. Is that okay with you?
I'm good to go. I got the maestro behind us. Do you know who this is behind us?
It is the Nick Bruno.
Nick Bruno. I'll tell you, you didn't just find a piano player. You found the piano player. Love it.
Sing it, Brother Ronny.
There's a lighthouse on a hillside. It still overlooks life's sea. When I'm tossed, it sends out a light. It's a light that I might see. And the light that shines in darkness now will safely lead me home. If it wasn't for that old lighthouse, my old ship would sail no more. And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my life to Him, for Jesus is that old lighthouse, and from the rocks of sin He has shown His light around me, that I could clearly see. But if it wasn't for the lighthouse, where would this ship be? And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my life to Him, for Jesus is the lighthouse, and from the rocks of sin He has shown His light around me, that I could clearly see. If it wasn't for the lighthouse,
good stuff.
Thank you, Jesus. And no, turn them lights up. We're not at a bar, the honky tonk or something, whatever it took to go over. Well, he said this one night on stage. He said, "Did you enjoy the Hensons?" And everybody goes, yeah. He said, "Well, I didn't." He said, "They keep singing like that, they'll be working gas stations in 6 months." He said that right in front. So I thought, man, you're really going too far out now, Hamill, So I'm in Honeacre, West Virginia, and I'm at this grand opening of this car lot. And the car lot has a lube rack and a gas station there on it. There's people everywhere at this grand opening, hot dogs being free, and everything. And so it starts raining bad. He says, "We thought this was probably going to rain, so we've got a big old platform hooked up on our lube rack that'll raise up." He said, "You guys will set up." He said, "We'll move all this stuff inside, and you guys will set up on the lube rack up on that elevated platform and sing to the crowd." I was at a gas station in Honeacre, West Virginia, 6 months later, singing to that crowd, and I looked down the hill, and here come the big blimp. Your blimp, the Kingsman. It said the Kingsman on the side of it. I said, "Hamill's found me out here."
Hey everybody, my name is Tate Emmons, and thank you for watching this episode of Legends, a series where we honor the generations that came before us and paved the way. But I'd like to speak about a generation who has not had the chance to pave their way. A generation stolen, sold, and abused. Over 1 million children have been abducted and are being used for sexual exploitation and slavery. Just as young as 18 months old, but on average, just 15 years old. That's my age. It's a $99 billion industry generated by stolen children each year. It's a tragic epidemic that can no longer be ignored or overlooked. Over 1 million children's voices have been silenced. But today, I will be their voice. The voice of my generation. I will make the appeal of hope and rescue. Destiny's Rescue is an organization mission to rescue kids from human trafficking, to set them free and keep them free. Today we are announcing a partnership with Destiny's Rescue and Tate Emmens Ministries, and we're asking you to partner with us. For a monthly commitment only $40 or any gift that you can give, you will become actively in the fight to save these children's lives. And as I've always saying thank you, I'll send you my debut album, Means Something to Me, along with Christmas with Tate, as our gift to you. By following the QR code at the bottom of the screen or going to tateemmens.com, you can become an official partner. A partner to save a stolen generation whose voices have been silenced. Let's be their voice. Let's stand in the gap for my generation.